time. To remind you, he is the most senior Hamas leader to be killed since those attacks on October the 7th. Let's speak now to Yonah Bob, who is senior military correspondent at the Jerusalem Post and author of Target Tehran. Good to have you with us. What is your understanding, Yonah, of how this happened?
So this is the most explosive moment maybe since October 7th. You could be looking at now war between Iran and Israel. You could be looking at war between Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Israel. Obviously, there's already a war going on between Israel and Hamas, and there's been a low level of conflict between Hezbollah and Israel for a long time. But what started this latest round was when Hezbollah killed about a dozen Israeli Druze at Majd al-Shams in the north. They say they didn't do it. Israel has proven very clearly that they did. There's nobody else who would have that capability anyway. Now, it's possible that they missed. It's possible they wanted to kill Israeli soldiers. Why would they want to kill Israeli Druze? But the fact is that they did kill 12 Israelis. And after that, Israel said, enough. We've been warning Hezbollah. Israel has been warning Hezbollah for 10 months to stop. They're not part of this conflict in the first place. They hadn't stopped. So Israel needed to retaliate. And it decided not just to kill Hezbollah's military chief, but also to send a message to Iran. From Israel's perspective, both Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies of Iran, and they are the real address for ending the war.
What is your understanding, though, Yonah, about the strike itself? Because we've had Antony Blinken say in the past hour or so that he was not aware of or involved in, the US was not aware of or involved in the strike. But can we assume that US military intelligence was working in coordination with the IDF?
So there's two separate events, right? There's the killing of the Hezbollah military chief. My understanding is the United States was informed of that and is not denying it. And in fact, the Hezbollah military chief was on the U.S. special designated terrorist list for a long time because of his involvement in planning attacks against United States in 1983 in Beirut. But the attack on Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, my understanding is it was not coordinated with the United States. The United States probably would not have approved that. But again, from the Israeli perspective, it was necessary, again, because the view is that Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies of Iran. And if it really wants all of this to end, it needs to tell Iran, you could be paying a price for this also. You can't just sit by the side and everything can be, calm by you while Israel is being attacked.
So in terms of the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the calculation was made, you believe, by Israel that this was one of their war aims to take out Hamas's leadership and that the threat of escalation of what could happen next, this was nonetheless worth it for this moment.
2 weeks ago, I do not believe Israel would have killed Ismail Haniyeh because they wanted to make a hostage deal. But things changed very quickly in the Middle East. As soon as 12 Israeli Jews were killed by Hezbollah, the hostage deal became secondary priority. I'm not saying there won't be a deal. I still think there's a good chance that there will be a deal. But something else needed to happen first. Hezbollah, again, this is from the perspective of the Israeli military and the Israeli government. Hezbollah needed to get a message and Iran needed to get a message.
Yonah, can I just ask you about that? Why do you think there is still a good chance of a ceasefire deal where everything that we've been hearing today as a result of these two strikes in Beirut and in Tehran, I mean, it's the threat of escalation that seems more possible rather than any kind of talks taking place?
So you always have to look at what didn't happen. Israel did not invade Lebanon. Israel did not try to kill Hassan Nasrallah. Israel did not kill the entire Shura Council of Hezbollah. Israel did not bomb large things in Beirut. There was a very precise attack on one individual who was responsible for the attack on the Israeli Druze. And there was one very precise assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. They didn't kill a major Iranian person there. They killed somebody who has been a target of Israel the whole time. Again, if there had been a deal, Ismail Haniyeh, I think, would have had some amount of immunity for a couple of years. But because there was no deal and because they wanted to turn up the heat on both sides without getting into a war with Iran, I think that's why they picked those two targets. And I'm not saying I think Iran will respond, Hezbollah will respond, but nobody actually wants a full war. In a full war, Israel wins, but Israel gets hurt very deeply. Iran knows that Israel wins. Hezbollah knows that Israel wins. That's why nobody wants a full war. It doesn't mean it won't happen, but once a full war doesn't happen, then in a couple of weeks, you see people going back to, okay, how do we bring this to an end? There's no other way to end it other than a hostage deal.
Yonah Bob, really great to get your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's bring in